All right. So to launch the software, if you don't see a shortcut for the app that you're looking for, in this case, I'm looking for Switcher. You can go Start and then Programs. There's going to be a GlobeCaster folder, and then Applications, and then you'll see what you're looking for. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and launch the Switcher now. When the software comes up, you're going to see a thing down below here that says what build number it was, what version of software it was. That's helpful to me in tech support if you ever have any questions. That way I know what version you're running. It, so warranty is a year from date of purchase, and then I'm not really strict about it. I mean, if something fails on it, like a power supply or something like that, and you're out of warranty, we'll charge you for it. But you can call me with tech support questions, whatever.
Yeah, when we got something down or doing something specific, like in production, not in the hardware.
Right. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
I like it when people use our stuff. So okay, so here's the switcher interface. By default, it comes up with all this stuff. On the left-hand side, it's a sampler of different effects and transitions and stuff like that
That come with the
that
system.
come with the system. Yeah. In the middle here are your program and preview windows. This is what basically is going out over air right now. This is what's next. And then over here on this side, typically there's a bunch of still files or just JPEG or bitmap images. Um, moving down here, you got all these buttons. Really, the ones you're working with the most of the time is this program row. So this is again what is going out over air. Currently, I have frame store 1, which is selected on program, and that's what's going out. If I choose 1, then there's your camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, camera 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 6, 5. Anyway, so
As well in the keyboard.
yeah, you can do that on the keyboard.
Okay.
The program row is your F keys, F1 through 5 or 6 or however many cameras you have. Preview row is the number row just below the F keys, so you can use that right there. Other keyboard shortcuts. The enter key is going to do a cut between the two shots.
What do you mean a cut?
Cut. It's literally just switching from what's
Oh.
on
No,
program
it's not the bar no more.
to what's on preview. The spacebar is a dissolve or a
Oh,
mix.
okay.
Mix. Yeah, just dissolving or fading between different shots. Enter.
You make it softer in the vision. No, people seeing it. It's not like a changing an image right away. You
Right.
kind of make it
Gradual.
appealing to the eye.
Yeah. And if you like the dissolve more, some other keyboard shortcuts for dissolve is the comma, the period, and the question mark. And so the comma sets it for a 7-frame dissolve or a quarter second. The period sets it for a half second. And the question mark sets it for a full second. See that? So if you just want to quickly dissolve from one shot to the next, or take a long time, spacebar is doing the auto button. Basically, spacebar is pressing auto. It's the same thing. And spacebar is in this case, is my dissolve because mix is selected. But spacebar, to be technically correct, spacebar is doing the auto take, which is this auto button right here. Okay? And it's going to do whatever's highlighted on this row, which currently mix is what's highlighted, which is why we're seeing a dissolve whenever I hit this. Enter is a cut, always a cut. And it's cutting between program and preview. Right. So for example, if I'm on this shot and I call up, these turkeys, we're talking about Thanksgiving, I just cut to that.
It's hard to show like a nigga when you're among turkeys.
Yeah. So to change the duration of the dissolve, comma is a quarter second or 7 frames. Period is a half second or 15 frames. And question mark is a full second or 30 frames.
And then in order to get rid of the turkey, what you do?
Well, you can either dissolve away from it or cut away from it. Or you mean to load a different image?
Right.
Just, double click on another image or,
It automatically goes.
yeah. And
Right. When you click on the image, automatically go to preview.
yes.
Okay. Because in the other old system that we have, we
Hmm.
had to click on some little green buttons that were here.
Okay, that's a DSK. We're gonna get to that.
Okay.
You will have to do. These are just still files like JPEGs or bitmaps or whatever. Those will always load into the frame stores. These here, these FS1 and FS2. So like those pictures you were talking about, somebody has on their phone or whatever.
Right.
You want to bring them in here, they're gonna show up in these FS1 and FS2.
Right. Because one time one of the board members requested me, he said, "Can you, when I'm talking, can you put a still picture of me instead of videotaping?
Hmm.
Because I don't glamorize every time I come to."
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She want like a.
A
Then I
graphic.
can load those,
Uh huh.
you know, and use it whenever.
Yeah, those are the defaults. You can actually create more frame stores in the switcher here if you want, just by right-clicking on these empty buttons and choosing more frame stores. Yeah, FSs are frame stores. Why would you want to do that? Maybe there's a series of images that you want to go through, and you want to have them all queued up already, that kind of thing. Most of the time, though, guys, you're going to be working with camera shots. Maybe you're going to go to a graphic. Like in this case, I could see you guys being on a camera shot, and then the guy talking is going to want to bring up the menu of whatever it is he's working on. You may have created that menu in Photoshop, or you may have created it here, and you want to go to it. You'll dissolve to the menu. He's talking while the menu's showing. And then you go back to him, that kind of thing. Auto, yeah. So auto take is kind of a transition. Cut is always going to work for you if you see the images you want here, and I want to go back to that, just hit cut, you know. Or you can just take the camera if you want to take it, camera one all of a sudden you could take one.
Hey, this is a good question. I'm sure it doesn't do it, but you said all formats but raw. What about DMG files on that Lightroom or Adobe?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. Try it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's see here. I guess the things that I'm going to show you today, let's get into that now. Um, I've created a folder here in the bins directory, which is sort of like the home base. If you're ever like looking for something in the GlobeCaster software and you don't know where it's at, the best thing to do is just to close out of the folder you're looking in. Like right now, I'm like digging in and I don't know where the heck I am. Just hit the X button, which closes it. Right click and say New Bin Window. It's always going to bring you back to this bins directory. And this is where I recommend you create any folders for yourself so that you can quickly get back to where you want to be. Yeah, just close out of the window you're in, right click and hit New Bin Window. You could think of it like, you know, sorry, you could think of it like opening up another browser or something, like you kind of start back out at Google or whatever, your home page.
You do?
I right click and I hit New Bin Window, yeah.
Now, if you want to create a folder, do you do that through here or Windows Explorer?
No, you can do it right here. To create your own folder, you just basically right click in this gray area and choose New Folder,
Okay.
right?
And to modify, delete it.
Yeah, rename, all that good stuff, just right click on it, just like in Windows. So I created one called RSD this morning. And inside of that, I have a folder called training I created. Inside of that, you can see I've kind of like compartmentalized this thing down, you know. If anybody's ever done any projects where they've taken something apart, you know, like an engine or something, it's important to keep all the parts, you know, organized. Otherwise, when it comes time to put it back together again, you're going to be like spending a lot of time looking for stuff. So I recommend that you be diligent with your, you know, organizational skills, especially when you start talking about needing to bring up graphics in a live situation. You know, you don't want to be hunting the whole time and miss the opportunity to run something, you know. Yeah, X would close them out. Yeah, so
What is this window called?
this is a bin. This is called a bin.
The bin window?
Yeah, bin window, and it's literally just a folder on the hard drive. In this case, it's on the C drive, GlobeCaster bins, RSD training. That's what it is. Which the managing what you see here is called saving a layout file. And the way to do that would be to open the folder that you want to see. Like for example, I want to see this training folder right here open all the time. Okay. But maybe on this side over here, I want to go one step further and actually drill down into the subfolders, right? So there's DSKs. Now I can grab the top of this and drag it down. You know, I've just made that a smaller window there. Now I'm going to open up another bin window and go into RSD and training and effects. Okay, there's nothing in there yet. We'll put something in there in a minute. Okay. And then finally we'll go into training and stills. Okay, and those. So I want to see these things every time I open the software application, right?
Right.
Every day I go in and do a show, I want to see this stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to this training folder, which is kind of the top folder, right? I haven't drilled down into DSK's effects. I'm going to right click and I'm going to say save layout. Okay. And so what that's done is it's just created, it's just basically recorded every window that I have open here so that every time I open the software application, it's going to give me these things.
Pretty good.
What is this window called? And if you close them, how can you reopen?
Okay. This is called the monitors. This is called monitors. And if you close them and you want to reopen them, or for example, you know, you can go to panels and choose monitors. Let's say you come in and somebody's been messing around with it and everything's kind of screwed up and closed out or whatever, right? You know, what are you going to do? Well, you saved a layout, right? So just open up that folder, which the layout is in, which is in RSD, right? And I go into training, and there it is, right? Just double click on it, and it brings you all the things you want to see, right? You could,
That's nice.
yeah, you could,
That's very nice.
you can save as many.
No, this is in the old system.
Yeah,
too?
it's been that way forever.
They will never be trained to that.
Yeah. It can be helpful, especially if you're doing different types of shows, you know, like you
I
could
would do
have,
the same thing. That's why it stays.
right, so you only need one really. Maybe these guys would have a different one for what they're doing here, you know, like maybe they have folders called Station 1, Station 2, Station 3, or maybe Stove, you know, uh, Freezer, whatever, you know. And then in there, there's DSKs or there's effects or whatever, camera shot. Well, you know, you can't do the camera shot, but that's over here. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what we're going to work on, what we're going to spend most of the day working on now, okay? So some of the graphics that I created, you know, like this one right here comes in. Where's my graphic? Why don't I see that? It says it's running. Yeah, maybe this window is. Yeah, there it is. Okay, I don't know why closing and opening it kind of messed that up or something. I don't know. But anyway, this is a graphic that I made. Thanksgiving menu. It's based off of a picture that I pulled off the internet, right? So I just took the picture and you know, dragged and dropped it into the folder. Or actually, I put it on the desktop. Now that I think about it, I put it on the desktop like that. Copied it, yes, and then I used this picture in the software. So I'm going to talk about how to bring in images like email or internet or, you know, wherever CD like this one right here. And then we're going to apply them to graphics like this pre-built animation that slides out that says, Thanksgiving menu on it, okay? I'm going to be using templates so you don't have to create that from scratch. You can create it from scratch. If you want to, all that takes, guys, is practice. Just come and play with it. But if you don't have time for that, there's a lot of nice animations that you just basically can quickly update.
Now that's a DSK though.
These
You
is
save it on stills or DSK?
I saved it in the DSK. See, I'm working out of this folder right here.
Oh, okay.
So here's a couple other ones that we might end up, working with. Coming up next, Election 2012 Live.
So the DSKs are the ones that actually allow you to do the
Animation. These are lower thirds or DSKs or overlays. I know we were talking about that earlier. These still happen to be animated as well.
Because of the templates you're using.
Correct. So this is just a lower third animation here that you could put text over. In fact, if I put that into 1 and put this into 2,
what else do you call it DSKs? Animation fading in and out or just
I think Nate called them swipes.
swipes.
Yeah, so if you're talking to Nate and he says, "Hey, I'd like to see more swipes," this is what he's talking about, is these little lower thirds and stuff.
And definitely on this, you have to have quite a pre-production.
Pre-production, right?
Yeah, have
Yep.
all this stuff
All ready to
with
go.
the names of
Yep.
the board. For
Yep.
example, in the environment that we use it in the district, we should have every board member's name
Correct.
Already
Correct,
preset.
correct. Now there's gonna be times when somebody stands up to speak or something that you don't have a name for them.
Right.
Maybe you know who they are. Maybe you want to create one really quickly. We're gonna talk about how to do that on the fly. But you're gonna have a lot of them already canned, right? They're already done. You're just gonna, name the file whatever the guy's name is, and you'll bring it up whenever he's speaking. You know. Um, So all these are examples of animations that are built into the system that we can edit, and play around with. I'm just loading them up. I'm going through just kind of showing you some of the different ones. Some of the different things. So like if you wanted something like, let's say it was a topic they were talking about, you just wanted to slide in and say, bus vote or something like that, or lunch menu changes, or just to let people know kind of what they're watching, or it's up, depends on how involved you want to get really. But I think at the end of the day, if you can pull up people's names, if you can show a picture in picture while they're speaking about some presentation, that is a reasonable goal to set yourself to start with, and then if you want to go crazy after that and start talking all kinds of more stuff about whatever they're talking about, then you'll know how to do that just by adding to it. um, let's see here, what else did I do? I grabbed this logo off your website.
So it's always going to be displayed in the program window.
Correct.
So you have no way of actually placing the preview window.
There is a way to see it in preview before you take it. For example, like I can't really read what that says. If I hit this little button right above where it loads, this little triangle looking thing, it'll actually, you have to have a preview monitor. It's not going to show it to you here. I mean, it will if you right click and you say preview effect. It'll show it to you down here, just briefly though. But yeah, if you do this one, if you have a physical monitor, like they should probably have another bank here that has program and preview in it, you would see it on your physical monitor. Okay.
How do you saw it here though?
What's that?
How do you brought up the preview monitor here?
How did I see that effect? I right click on where the effect is loaded, and I choose preview effect.
Okay.
It just shows it to me briefly right here, and then it'll cut back to
Now,
whatever it is.
now these are all still images, and I understand because of timing, right? But if we wanted to put some sort of a video effect, can we do that too?
Yeah.
Using these DSKs?
Yeah, they're actually not all still images. If you look here, there's animation going on.
Okay.
So yes, and you could do that. Like, this is like an AVI right here with an alpha channel. That's what that is. And so, actually in this case it's a file sequence, but it could be an AVI with an alpha channel. So
And
we're
then at the end of the production, if we want to create like the credits and they start rolling,
yeah, yeah,
we can produce that before,
correct.
and then we can store it as
Uh-huh.
alpha.
Uh-huh. Well, that's already if you I would create the credit roll in this software, in the character generator, not in something else. So let me show you what that would look like. If we go into DSK1 here, there's a bunch of different ones in here. I've only shown you a few because where is it at? Well, we'll use this one here. All right, now here's something key to learn, okay? So when I double click on an effect, or in this case an overlay or a downstream key, it's either going to load into DSK1 or DSK2, depending on which one of these I select right here. This button here is basically assigning where the load happens, So right now I just double clicked on that and it went in here. If I click on this one and double click on it again, it's going to load over here. You see that? Yeah. Right.
And
What?
only two channels for that you have.
Only
Or
two
yeah,
channels,
for,
right.
those two for what it's used
These
for.
two are like if you want more, you can buy more cards and do that.
Oh,
It's
I
like
see.
two more
Oh,
channels.
okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So, but you know what? What most people end up doing, guys, is just dragging and dropping where they want it to load, right? So, for example, I drag that one in there. I've got a credit roll in here. I'm going to drag this one over here, right? And now I want to run them both. I turn that on and then turn this on, and it does this credit roll.
Oh, that's nice.
And we get those expansion cards from you.
Yeah, right.
Like ballpark figure how much?
Like $795 a piece. So,
Yeah, no, this
So both images
Yeah.
But to add the card?
Yeah.
on the
Oh, okay,
program
but
this time.
what's that?
You drag.
Yeah, I drag these DSKs over here, and then I just basically I hit these green buttons to run them. You know,
Oh, so okay, so it's not running simultaneously or continuously. It's just depending on which green button
is lit, right? Yeah. This one's a looping one. This purple thing is gonna run forever.
So what if they're both lit at the same time, for example, right? Like you might have them both lit at the same time.
That,
So
that
it was, but
right. It means they were both running. They were both active. Okay, so you guys ready to start seeing kind of how we do this stuff, like how we make that happen? Okay. I'm going to go into the character generator first, which is going to be where we make our titles, our credit rolls, like the one we just saw that went up the screen, um, and basic lower thirds that don't animate at all. And then we're going to go from character generator and we're going to take some of the things that we make there and put them into the animator compositor, which is, the 2D application where we do uh, more stuff. So let's start with character generator. Now, here's a tip. If you want to keep the switcher open and open the character generator as well, hold down on the shift key while you're in the switcher application and then click on whatever app you want, in this case character generator.
so the shift key will allow you to open multiple.
Correct. So now
we
that
can do, like if we were to do that, the program's still running, everything else is still fine, right?
correct. Yeah, program. So now I want to go back to the switcher real quick. It's Alt Tab. So if I hold down on the Alt button with my thumb, which is the most comfortable finger to use for this, and then hit Tab, you're going to see this is a Windows thing. You see all the things that are running currently in Windows. Okay? So yeah, I'm just going to tab until I'm on switcher and let go. So Alt Tab, go back and forth.
So technically, we could have opened up both the switcher and the character generator at the same time in the beginning, right? And
Yeah,
then just
right.
make sure we're running on the switcher. If anything, just tap to the other.
Yeah.
So it's like two different programs.
Correct. And this computer is capable of running dual screens, so you could actually have character generator on one screen and switcher on the other simultaneously. Yeah.
You want me there for? I mean, which one? Because I would like to use the touchscreen monitor.
I guess I'll sit the
Touchscreen monitor?
Yes.
You can use a touchscreen monitor?
You can. I mean, it's a little difficult. You know, the buttons are pretty small. You know, but you could use one.
HP sells a 23 touchscreen monitor, and then in Windows 7 it's already touchscreen capable. And
Mhm.
when Windows 8 comes up, I know it's gonna be multi-touch, so that'll be awesome too.
So, uh, so basically, let's look at the character generator. I'm alt tabbing, right, to go over there. Everybody's gonna get a chance to do that too. So let's look at this for a second, okay? On the left-hand side, it says sampler, and it's got some colors up there, like gradients, and it's got some different font styles. And then in the center, you've got your actual workspace. And then over here, you got some projects that were created long, long ago, 1998. And then you've got some more different font styles down below. Okay. And then, oh yeah, by the way, all the buttons to control everything are right here. So we're going to go through those and talk about what each. We're going to basically divide this into this section and this section. Okay. The pink buttons and the blue buttons. Okay. So getting started. Thanks. Yeah. Getting started, what I want to do is I want to look at a project here that was created already. Okay. So I double click on the project. It's right over here. And it says Attorney General Vance Thornhill on it. Okay. It's got these three boxes: a white box, a blue box, and this gradient box back here. So what we're going to do first is we're going to talk about how to change what this says. Okay. And that means we're going to have to get familiar with this guy right here. This is called the L cursor because it's in the shape of an L, but I call it the hell cursor because it can be a pain in the butt to work with. Okay? So anywhere, first thing to learn is anywhere you click in the workspace, that thing is going to go. Okay? So if I wanted to type live up here, I click up here and I type live. All right? All right, now, if I want to select anything, it's just like any other Windows application. You know, you can drag a box around something to copy and paste or delete or whatever, right? Double click will grab the word. Triple click will grab the line. Okay? So while I have that selected, watch what happens. So he's watching it now, yeah? So while I have that selected, I can change what it says just by typing something else in. Now, did you notice? Wait, okay, go ahead and type that in. Uh, that was him. That was him. Not me, not me. Okay, let's see here. So what happened was, right now, currently, it's in that. So let's just say superintendent, right? And you have to help me spell intendant. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, superintendent. Okay. Now, what happens if I want to change Vance Thornhill here?
Double click, I mean triple click on it.
Yep.
You
Triple,
need to change the
yeah,
character,
triple
like-
click. Well, that's the thing. See how it's currently, this is the current character that I have in my hand, right? It's this black one like this. But watch what happens when I triple click this.
Okay,
It changes, right? It knows what it's sitting on. So now we're going to type in Dr. Jackson. All right, Dr. Jesse Jackson. Okay, there we go.
If you want to change the character, just pick the one at the bottom.
Yeah, so if you want to change something that's already written, you select it first. So triple click on it and then come down here. And if you click on, what I clicked on was this right here.
Oh, but not this one, then?
You could, these are all pre-made, right? So if I come through
Oh.
here and change these, they're going to take whatever.
And then you lower the size.
Yeah,
Yeah, but if we're doing like a live show, it's probably better that you say it.
Right.
Control C and then undo.
Control Z is an undo. No, you have to undo here. Undo, 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 undo. Okay. All right. So now what we're going to do though is we're just going to click on where it says Swiss 721md.bt or whatever. That's the font style. So all these fonts are what's installed in the Windows computer. If you have a certain font that you use for your school district, you can install it into your fonts directory and it'll be there.
In case of a logo or something, that will automatically stay the way it
I'm sorry, in case of a what?
For example, if I bring a logo, they have already some kind of font.
Right, right,
Then it's not in that group.
right.
When I bring the that graphics to the computer,
Mm.
do they replace the font, or
No.
they will try to imitate the ones I
That's a
bring?
good question. So if you bring a logo in, it's a flat image. It's already sort of, baked and finished,
Right.
right? So there's no
There's no
editing it,
problem at
right?
all.
So you're not gonna have any problems. If somebody else had the GlobeCaster character generator and they made something for you, and they had a font you didn't have, and you open their project here, then yeah, it would replace it with, Arial or whatever, right? So basically, whoever is doing your website and or your marketing information like brochures and whatever, if they have a font that they've standardized on that's not here, if you get it from them, then you can use it, right? In marketing or corporate America, it's like it's being consistent with your brand is what they say, right? So your brand, like Ford has a certain font and stuff like that. So they would want that to look the same all over the place. So basically, what did I do here? I came in, I double clicked on where it said Attorney General a minute ago, and I typed in Superintendent, and then I clicked on Vance Thornhill, or triple clicked, and chose, and I wrote in Dr. Jackson. If I wanted, and I did change the font to Futura here. Um, Quickly, if I wanted to change the size, let's talk about the L cursor here for a second, which turned into this bounding box. Okay, it was just a cursor like that before, but when you have something selected, it becomes like a box, and you've got some different things you can work with here. These little ears you see, if you grab them and drag them, it does different things. So this one adjusts the height. This one adjusts the width. This one locks the aspect and adjusts both the height and the width. Yeah. And then this one down here, this long one, allows you to move it around on the screen. Okay. So, just quickly, I'll demonstrate that quickly. So there's your height. There's your width.
It doesn't change the background.
No, because I just have this selected right now, right? And then if I want to move it around, okay. Now let's say I get it close, right? And I'm like a little low, I can sit here and just move it up like that. Or I can use shift arrows, or a 1 pixel move at a time, right? Shift arrows. Control arrows does the kerning, or the space between the. It would deselect the object.
That was control and arrow.
Control arrow is kerning, so the spacing. And then,
gotcha.
and then shift arrow is the moving it around.
Okay.
Like superintendent, for example, could probably have a little bit wider kerning on it, right? Because it kind of all runs together. So you just open that up a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, when you had got that highlight one of those.
Yeah.
Okay. If I want to move it a little bit, could I use this?
No.
Like the other.
You have to hold down on shift and then do that.
The whole. No, I don't want to expand. I just want to move the whole.
You are. It's not spanning it. It's just moving it. Watch. So I'll move it over there. See that?
Okay.
So, and every time I hit the arrow button, it's moving it a little bit.
It's a little different on Photoshop.
Yeah, a little different. A little
Bold
different.
it. I'm sorry. To bold it.
Mhm.
Do we click here or either?
Either.
Okay.
Either. You can see how it's turning it on over there as well. This window might not be up, this font window. So in that case, you just quickly get to it here. The way I got that window up was to click on this font style here. Okay.
Now, when you open that up or when you click here, none of these. Oh, yeah.
Everything gets pushed over.
So I was gonna say, why not leave it open all the time?
Right. So, okay.
Can we save this layout too?
Yeah. Anywhere you want, any application you want to save a layout, you basically would just go into the folders you want to see, You know, let's say we want to see this folder again.
Mhm.
You know, that one's the switcher.
Mhm.
You know, you could rename it, call it switcher if you want to, so you don't get confused as to what's what.
Mhm.
The key thing is if you do rename a layout,
Mhm.
you need to right click at it and say save as default.
Oh.
And then, so let's say I want to have this one up, so I'm going to say save layout, which is a character generator. So rename CG. Okay, and then I'll go in and say set as default. The reason I have to do that is because after it's already set as the default when you create it, but if you rename it, you have to set it as default again.
Now, you, does I don't know, the software automatically recognize, okay, so this is the layout for character generator, and this is the layout for switcher,
Yes.
and it's not gonna pull up from the same.
Right. I can't load a switcher layout while I'm in the character generator, or vice versa. So now that I've done that, let's talk about changing colors for a second. Okay, so I've changed the font. I changed what it said. Uh, so let's change the colors, the background color, the text color, all that stuff. So like I noticed on your website, it's kind of a maroon color. I'm assuming that's your school district's kind of like color.
Not really, but
No? Okay. Okay, well,
It was just the default, the company
it was the incompetent of the company.
oh, okay.
It
Well,
was
and
so.
our fearless.
all right. Well, let's set this for what are your school colors then?
We don't know. We don't have.
Oh, that's right.
Doesn't have actually have a
Oh,
shape color.
See,
okay.
even the logo that we have,
Mm.
it was extract from a clip
Mm,
book.
mm.
We never paid somebody design us a logo.
Right.
No, it was done by Nate. Pick up a little glove somewhere,
Yeah.
and then suddenly the superintendent had new superintendent came back. They think that's our logo, but that's somebody else's work.
Ah, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, let's just pretend then for a second this is that maroon is your color. Okay.
We went chase
All right. So how do we change this blue stripe? So the same way we grabbed the text earlier by dragging across it, we're just going to try to get in there and just grab that.
Single click.
Yep. Single click and drag. That's how you grab anything. And you'll notice that when I did that, this changed over here, right? So what I'm going to do is click on where this face is, or I'm sorry, right click and choose color properties. And that brings this guy up. All right. And there's maroon right there. I can click on these different colors and it updates in that window there.
That maroon. There you go.
What?
That's the maroon we use.
Yeah.
No, the one at the bottom.
This one here.
That one.
This
That
one.
one and yellow are supposed to be the district color.
Yeah.
That one.
This is purple right there, man. I think you're colorblind.
Put the logo back on. You see.
Okay. Which
Yeah,
logo?
Well, maybe I've been doing all that all my life.
I mean,
Stop doing it.
yeah. I mean, let's compare the
Oh,
two.
no, no. I'm talking about the logo.
Oh, which one is that?
The one they say.
Th-
That one.
this one?
Right.
Stop. I
Yeah.
don't know. There's really no
Yeah, it's
no
a yellow in the background, and one time
and
it
blue.
was that bottom purple.
This
That
one
was
right
the.
there. Okay.
But
Well.
you see, that's the problem when you don't have a logo, official logo.
Right.
It keep on modifying
Yeah.
for the need.
Yeah.
And when all we have is at the store.
Yeah. That's all about brand consistency is key.
Exactly.
You have to. There's in marketing, there's a book with every company you work for that says you have to use this color, you have to use this font,
They call
adherence or something.
I don't know.
Okay, so that was easy. What about entering like the actual X keys or X numbers, or like can you modify this and
Mhm.
just say okay?
Yeah, you can type
Oh, okay.
type whatever number in you want. If you wanted it to be hot pink as your color.
Those numbers are matched with the Pantone matching system.
I don't know. There's RGB and HSV
Oh,
here,
okay.
Oh, okay.
so you can adjust those based on that. I don't know about
No,
if they're Pantone or not.
that was for the object or the stripe,
Uh-huh.
not the letters or
Uh-huh.
the fonts. Can you
Same
do that too?
same thing. Yeah,
Okay.
you just select whatever it is you want to change. Like let's say we're going to make this gold color or yellow back here. So I've selected it. I right click, color properties, and choose like that yellow right there, right? So maybe I don't want this to be, I mean, black actually looks pretty good, but let's say I just want it to be another color. I've selected it, and now I'm going to, again, right click and go to color properties, and let's just say I'm going to make it white. I don't know, you know, that's basically
That is
all.
for the font.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the font. Now, let's say this is the size, the style, everything I want for anything I create moving forward for this. So what I can do is I can select this, and you see I've already saved one of these out before. You just drag and drop these guys out. So you could call this, top line or whatever, right? And then come down here and say, save that out and say bottom line, right? That way you don't have to guess. Right, right. Or yeah, line one. They usually say line one, line two, whatever.
And then if I got the slide, let's think like a slide. We have that slide, and I want to save it for when I'm doing live filming, and I want to get that particular. I got I'm the superintendent is talking, and I want to get to that particular art right away.
Yeah.
How I got it stored already on a easy assets.
You've already got it saved. You did your pre-production. You made it. Now it's time to run it live.
Right.
So what you can do is basically like we've already created this. This was the pre-production stage.
Right.
In my training folder, I created a folder called DSKs. Right. I opened that up. Now it's kind of messy in here. I got a bunch of different things. I could create another folder and call it titles. Right. And inside of that, I'm going to save this out. Now, how do I save this out? It's time to save it now, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I save it as an overlay. Like this project by default is a still. I want to change that to an overlay, okay? There's some other things in here we'll talk about in a minute, but overlay is what I want for this, okay? Overlay equals DSK. All right, so on a drag and drop, I'm just dragging and dropping. There's a save now button, but I don't like to use the save now button because I never know where it goes, right? It doesn't watch what happens. I click save now. What happened? I don't know. So let me save it where I know I want to save it into this titles folder, right? And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to name it. I'm going to call it, Dr. Jackson or something, right? Or superintendent. Super. Okay. So now now it's time to be in the switcher. So something's going on, right? And let's say the superintendent's standing, all right. So of course he's out of every single camera shot. We could play around with it, but whatever. So superintendent's standing there, and it's time for me to put his name up, right? So I go to my titles folder. Remember how I saved the layout earlier here? Titles, there it is. Super. Again, I can either double click, which is going to right now go into DSK1, right? Because DSK1 is lit right here. Or I can drag and drop, into DSK2 and run it, right? So what I just did was I created it in Character Generator, saved it in the switcher, Alt-Tab back and forth, right? That's the key shortcut. Dragged and dropped it into DSK2, and then I hit the little green button and it runs it. Yep. So now it's time for me to stop recording and turn this over and let you guys practice and play, okay?